Hello guys, this is the answer key to the quiz review, which will prepare you for the quiz in 2 days. Alright, so first of all, factor. So we want to factor the GCF for number 1. And the way how we do that is we identify what does the first term, which is 5x, and the second term, which is 40, have in common. And clearly it has a 5 in common. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor out a 5. So factor out a 5 by dividing it by 5. That leaves us with an x. And then that leaves us with an 8. So therefore we factored out the 5, which is the common factor. When there are 4 terms, we use the method called factor by grouping. So what we're going to do is we are going to split. We're going to create a boundary that splits the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. Now, in the first 2 terms, what do they have in common? And the first 2 terms have so that's the first 2 terms. It has a 2 in common. So therefore, we can take out a 2. Okay, so I take out a 2. Now, if I take out a 2, then what is left? Well, I get x squared left, and then I get 1. In the next 2 terms, what do they have in common? They have a y in common. So let's go ahead and take out the y. Okay, so once I take out the y, I have an x squared left. And then y divided by y is really 1. So I have an x squared plus 1 left. Now, so in these two, on both sides, notice that both sides contain an x squared plus 1. So therefore, x squared plus 1 is going to be your common factor. So you can basically take it away from each of the side. So take it away because I took it out already. So if I took it away, then I have a 2 left. See? And then this is the plus sign. If I took it away on this side, then I have a y left. So therefore, we get x squared plus 1 times 2 plus y. Great job. Here's another 4-term problem. Whenever you see 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you factor by grouping. So to factor by grouping, the first thing we do is we draw a vertical line that splits the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. In the first 2 terms, ask, what does the first 2 terms have in common? It has a b squared in common. So we take out the b squared because that's what they have in common. Now notice that these will be reduced, leaving us with 1b. So we have 4b. And then you took out the b squared over here. That leaves you with a minus 5. Great. In the next 2 terms, on the right side, okay, this is the red line is the boundary line. What do they have in common? They have a 1 in common. That is the only number that they have in common. Okay? So therefore, we take out a 1. And then notice that negative 4b divided by 1, it is still negative 4b. 5 divided by 1 is still 5. Now, here's the interesting aspect. Usually we want this to be the same as this. We want those to be the same. But since they're not the same, there's a little trick that we can do. If we look at this term and we take out a negative 1, so if I take out a negative 1, then it now becomes 4b minus 5. Okay, just imagine if you distribute it back in, you get negative 4b. See? If you distribute it back in, you get negative 5. So I'm going to take out a negative 1, and that is going to do the trick. Okay. Now, what do they have in common? They have a 4b minus 5 in common, right? 4b minus 5. So I'm going to take that away. So first, let's write down what they have in common. And if you take that away, just imagine taking that away like this and that. right? What's left on each of the on each side? Well, you got a b squared left, and then to the right side of the red line, you have a -1. You have a -1. See? There you go. Great job. Great job. Okay, number 5. It's also 4 term. So we factor by grouping. How do we start? Draw a middle line that splits the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. What do the first 2 terms have in common? They have an x squared. Take out an x squared. If you take out an x squared, you're left with x. Take out the x squared, you're left with 3. See? What do these 2 terms have in common? They have a 2 in common. So take out the 2. Take out the 2. We have x left. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Awesome. Now if you look at this line right here, what do they have in common? What does the left side and the right side have in common? Great job. They have an x plus 3 in common. So why don't we go ahead and take out the x plus 3? X plus 3. See? So the x plus 3 gets taken out. Okay? If we take out the x plus 3, if we take out the x plus 3 on each side, as you can see, what's left? Well, we got this left. We got that left. So it's x squared. That's what I circle over here. And then a 2. Because we took out the x plus 3. Great job. Let's go back to this problem. Now, this one is not a 4-term problem, so the only thing we can do is we identify the greatest common factor. So what do these 3 terms have in common? And they have a 2a in common. 2a. Okay? So I take out the 2a. Now I'm going to go ahead and reduce. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay? A third divided by a is a squared. That gives you a 6. That gives you an a. That gives you a 3. And that goes away. So therefore, that's the best we can do. Okay, good job. Number 7. This is a 2-term problem. So the only thing we can do is we ask, what do these 2 terms have in common? They have what goes into 24 and 27, basically, right? So you have a 3 that goes into 24, and a 3 also goes into 27, so they have a 3 in common. This one has 3 x's, this one has 2 x's, so technically they both have like 2 x's in common. So that is the greatest common factor. So now, if you cancel these out, you're left with an 8. You have an x here. That gives you an x. Cancel that out, you have a 9. And then the x squared goes away. So factoring out 3x squared is the best that we can do. Okay, let's count how many terms number 8 has. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And since it has 5 terms, the only thing we can do is we can ask, like, what do these 5 terms have in common? And notice that they are all divisible by 1 is the largest number that divides into all these 5 numbers. But because they all contain at least 2 x's, so they have an x squared in common. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take out the x squared. Okay, so if we take out the x squared, then you have 20x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd. Okay, minus 25x squared plus 5x, and then finally a plus 2. Great job. Going over to number 9. Okay, now this is a 4-term problem. So we need to differentiate between polynomials that contains 4 terms and the ones that don't contain 4 terms. The ones that contain 4 terms, we factor by grouping. And the way how we start the process is we draw a line that divides the first two terms and the last two terms. Now we ask, what do these two terms have in common? It has a 2x to the second. 2x to the second. Okay? So I factor out a 2x squared. Okay, now these cancels out. These leaves us with just 1x. That cancels out. And then those cancels out. So you have x plus 6. In these two terms, what do they have in common? Well, they're both divisible by 5. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by -5. So then you can take out a -5. That leaves you with an x plus 6. Okay, now, what do these two guys have in common? Well, they have an x plus 6 in common. Awesome, x plus 6. See? X plus 6. So I take out an x plus 6. Okay, take out the x plus 6. Take out the x plus 6. What's left on each side? Well, you got a 2x squared. And then you also have a -5. There you go. Great job. Okay. Which statement is false about 2x to the third plus 12x squared minus 5x? This one's true. It's a trinomial because it has 3 terms. Okay, so that's true. The degree of the polynomial is not 2. The degree is actually 3, so it's not 2. That's also true. The polynomial is written in standard form. That's also true. So there should be another option that says none of the above. And so this would be the right option, because which statement is false? Well, all these statements are true. So therefore, none of them are false. Great job. Okay, well, number 11 is to review what we learned the past week, which is on multiplying polynomials. So when you multiply a binomial with a binomial, if you remember, the way how I show you is we set it up using a box. Okay, like this. Remember that? We take 2x plus 4, 2x plus 4, 2x minus 4. We multiply these together, and we place the answer in here. Remember that? So that is going to give me 4x squared. Okay, multiply this, multiply that, and place the answer in here. So that's minus 8x. Okay, 2x times 4, multiply this, and place the answer in there. Okay, so that's going to give me 8x. Finally, 4 times -4, that gives me -16. Okay, so my answer to this problem is 4x squared. Okay, I'm going to add these together because they are like terms, but when I add them together, I get 0. So I'm not going to write it down. And then finally, I have a -16. That's my answer. Similar to part A, part B here, we're going to approach it using the same strategy. So you got x plus 2, x minus 2, okay? X times x, x squared. X times -2, -2x. X times 2, 2x, okay? 2x times 2x, minus 4. Keep in mind that these two are like terms and they are opposites of each other, so they cancel out. Because they cancel out, x squared minus 4, it's all that we have left. Great job. Let's go on to 11 part C. When we're subtracting, we used the vertical method to subtract. I'm going to take that polynomial and I'm going to write it right here, right below it. Okay, but because we are subtracting, okay, I'm going to copy down the sign that is opposite from these signs. So check this out. It's negative 24x squared. Okay, negative 12x, and then I think this one was negative 26, but I'm copying down positive 26. Okay, go ahead and combine them. So I can combine these. This is going to give me 8x squared. When you combine them, you bring down the variable. Positive 12 minus 12, that gives me 0. So I can put 0 here. And then this gives me 20. This is 26. So I get 32 altogether. So my answer is 8x squared plus 32. Great job. Let's move on to part D. I am adding these two polynomials. Okay, very similar to the first problem. Okay, since I'm adding, I don't need to change anything. I just need to copy that exact second polynomial down. But make sure you line up with the terms. Okay, so plus 12x plus 6. Actually, this one is minus 26. Adding these together gives me 56x squared. Adding these together gives me 24x minus 20. And there you go. So if you need extra help, you can send me an email, or I'll see you on Canvas conference. Feel free to watch the video again, slow the video down, pause the video, and again, send me an email if you have questions. I'll see you guys in the next video.